gentlemen, welcome to the Reverend Filo show.
Hello, you guys.
How's everyone doing? I know it's been a while.
Quarantine sucks.
We're still quarantining, and it's a bitch. But I was saying earlier that I have been I'm sort of getting into it now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm into my routine. I have like a routine now. I wake up, make bread. I go. Okay, this is what I do. I wake up. I go to the donut shop at that's about as far as I travel these days. There's a donut shop at the corner of my house, and the ladies there. I order coffee. Go back to my house. I make oatmeal, and then I drink oatmeal. I drink my coffee and I eat the oatmeal, and then I'll usually watch something or maybe game it for a little bit, and then I'll try and be productive, work on the podcast, work on some music, read.
How is the donut lady treating it?
Well, they were closed.
Yeah.
They were closed for about a week, and they're owned by a Chinese family because the lady's Chinese. I love that lady because she speaks English and Spanish. Both are second languages to her. But because where I live, it's all Mexicans. So, so she's just so I'm like, man, this is customer service. She even she the other day I walked in, and and by the time I got to the counter, she just handed me my coffee. I didn't even ask her. I didn't order it.
Right.
Yeah. So she saw me coming, through, and she just did me up, and I gave her the money. I was like, damn, thanks. And then I left, and but it's all right. I don't know. I miss working, but I don't miss working. Yeah. I'm getting used to not working.
Yeah, me too, actually. It sucks.
Well, the lady at the corner, my donut shop lady. I think she's the shit. I just love her work ethic. You know what I'm saying? She's super nice. She took the time to learn Spanish. Look, she's not fucking fluent. She's not gonna go and I doubt she watches Spanish television, but she knows enough to
sell. Well, she knows her demographics.
Yeah, exactly. She knows enough so that she could, you'll come in, and you order coffee, right? I always order coffee, or and she'll be like, oh well, she'll say "quieres pan." She's "quieres pan." She even gets the conjugation right. and then I was like, all right, simple but effective, right? Because and then she said, someone was like, oh, is this the cream? She goes, yeah, that's cream. She goes, yeah, and then she goes, oh, the blue canister is sugar, but she said it in Spanish.
Azúcar.
Yeah, she was like, oh yeah, al azul con azúcar. Has or whatever. I don't even fucking know how to say it. But she said it in Spanish, and I was like, man, this fucking Heina is killing the game right now. and it's just, I love it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just immigrants and people, especially now with Trump in the office, and they get a lot of hate. Mexican immigrants and just immigrants in general, illegal immigrants. Yeah. But they come and work harder than anybody, They really put it down because they have the most to lose, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they're hard workers. That's what everybody comes to this country for, right?
Right.
Make it better. Also, Rev plays guitar.
We're going to do that. This was Filo's idea, and I have been using this time to work on my music more and figure out how to really become a quote unquote professional musician. I've also been focusing a lot on writing. I always wanted to be a writer, songwriter, even when I was a teenager. But I'm doing a lot of reading, so I'm reading more about how to not just write songs, but how to market your songs to make money,
Right.
And also protect yourself and copyright and so that you're profiteering to the extent.
Right, because you don't want to make ideas and somebody take them from you.
A lot of the best way to make money as a songwriter really is owning your own publishing. You hear a lot about early on, like when musicians were getting like especially in the early days of the record industry, you had all these songwriters and all these performers who were working for the record industry and making money off records and making money off performing. But the record producers or the record executives were keeping the publishing, and that's where the money really is. You know what I'm saying? So then you hear about like the Beatles and Muddy Waters and Willie Dixon and the Stones and all these people from the 50s and the 60s and the early days, and you hear them. Oh, they sued Apple, they sued Chess Records for their publishing. This and that. Or there's a famous story of when the Beatles publishing went up for auction,
right?
And then Paul McCartney bid on it, and then Michael Jackson outbidded him at the last minute.
Yeah, and there's like a theory or a conspiracy that they killed Michael Jackson
to get the Beatles publishing back. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about that, but
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy, but and then so for a long time, Michael Jackson owned all the Beatles music, like through the 80s and 90s, and this and that. And it actually, Jackson and McCartney were good friends, and that drove obviously ruined their friendship.
That's interesting. I wonder why.
I don't know why he did that, Michael Jackson. That's a weird thing. I don't know.
I guess another topic.
Well, I think it was just the early stuff when they recorded with Apple. Which was the Apple Records, I guess, was the record. That was they recorded all like the early Beatles stuff, and then I think like the later Beatles stuff, like the White Album, and I think.
Well, that's a different topic for another day.
Right. Well, so
let's get back to you,
right.
my friend.
All right, we can give this a shot, I guess.
All right, this is Rev. What are you gonna play?
This is a song I wrote a while. I actually wrote the chorus right. It's about a time that I was on the road with my old band, and I actually wrote the chorus on the way home, driving home.
Oh shit!
I came up with the lyrics and like the cadence a little bit. It was kind of a traumatic experience, and so I guess I felt inspired, and I started coming up with these words and these like sort of cadence to the words, and then I went home and put some chords to it. And then wrote the chorus, and then I had it for a long time. But I was like, hey, this is a chorus, but I couldn't think of a verse, So, I kind of, like threw some ideas around and kind of fiddled on the guitar, and then about sometime last year, I was actually sitting at work, and then I was like, okay, you need to come up with a verse. So I just started writing out words, and then I came up with the verses at work. Okay.
Nice. Hey.
So there was like a 4 year period where I just
sat on it.
Yeah, I just sat on it.
Nice. All right. And you have this up on SoundCloud, right?
This is on SoundCloud. Yeah, I just put it out. I recorded it.
And the name of that song
is called Reno.
Reno,
as in Reno, Nevada. All right. Hopefully this works. I'm just gonna
play it on the.
Yeah. Ow. Here we go. Sun's gone down, nothing good on the radio. Headlights dim, and I can barely see the road. But a two-night stay in Lake Tahoe turned into a nightmare down in Reno. lost every hand that we played at the casino. And home is where we wanna be. Yeah, but we know that because he's got shortness of breath and his constant dance with death, that we might not make it out of Reno. But now what's to be said when your friends half dead and there's snow on the ground with no bridge up ahead, yeah. But we lost every hand that we played at the casino. And home is where we wanna be. Yeah, but we know that because he's got shortness of breath and his constant dance with death, that we might not make it out of Reno. Yeah.
That was good. You know what's funny?
I should have wondered my voice is a little hoarse.
It's all right. I liked it. I hope everyone else liked it.
Yeah, I'm always like, I'm always hearing the shit I'm not doing right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, everyone is self-conscious about everything.
Yeah.
When
You're a creative, you're always sending me your worst. But that's kind of how you should be, because like.
Well, yeah, because then you can't be your best.
Yeah, there has to be a lot of like self introspection when you're trying to create, and that's not just music, any kind of like art form, you really have to like confront your flaws, I guess. But then you can't be too hard on yourself, because then that could actually stifle the creative process, because then you'll never get anything out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I remember the first time you played that for me.
That song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't have any you really didn't have any lyrics for it.
Yeah.
I think you just played me that
lyrics is hard for me. Like for a long time I felt like I didn't really have anything to write about. Mm-hmm. And I'm not good at writing love songs, mm-hmm. so to speak. A lot of like pop music always tends to be about like relationships between people, like romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And like it's not that I'm against it. I'm not against it. I'm just not good at it. There's people who do it really well. Mm-hmm. It's just not something that I've really, I don't know, it just feels too forced, and I feel that like I'm better at writing about things that are a little bit more based in reality, yes. Yeah. Like when I wrote about that particular situation, it started to come out easy it came out a little easier because I realized, I used to have trouble, and I realized when you write like pop music, you want your songs to be sort of not universal, but relatable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do you make something that's relatable? You know what I'm saying? Like, but you don't want it to be cheesy though. You want it to be relatable, but you don't want it to be like cheesy or trite or like a cliche. Right. You really don't want it to be cliche. But the weird thing is so what I started to do is I just started to get very specific. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like Reno, right? Every line in that song is very specific to
the situation.
To how I was feeling. Like the end is near, I could feel it in my bones. This happened at that trip I was on the road with Sons of Jimmy, which is my old band. We were in Tahoe doing a couple gigs, and then our friend got sick, and the only hospital we could take him to was in Reno. So that was in Reno, Nevada, which was about an hour away or whatever, and in another state. When we're driving home, what did I say? Drive all night just to get back home. We literally drove all night to get home.
Yeah.
And then the end is near, like I could feel it in my bones, right? So that is pretty much, after that, like the band pretty much deteriorated shortly after that because so much shit had went wrong. And you could I kind of was like, I think this is it. Like, I don't think we're going to recover from this.
Right.
You know? But then it's funny, like, so that lyric is very specific, but then when you don't know the origin of that lyric, then it becomes relatable or it becomes universal.
I was
you can kind of apply it to anything.
Yeah, I was just gonna tell you, like, that song, why it's so relatable right now. A lot of the lyrics you can really apply to what's going on with the quarantine and COVID-19.
Yeah,
and where you say it feels like you're not gonna make it out of Reno, where it kind of feels like we're not gonna make it out of this virus, but the end is near.
Yeah, you can feel it. There's a line in there. The snow on the ground and no bridge up ahead. That's literally we woke up and it was snowing, and we didn't have any sort of, like, we weren't prepared for the snow. We had a truck with the bed, and it was open.
Yeah.
All our instruments would have got ruined had we had them outside and tried to take them, and we didn't have snow chains for our tires, and we didn't grow up in the mountains, so we didn't really know how to deal with snow.
Yeah. So
we couldn't leave. We couldn't leave, and our buddy was really sick, and what's to be said when your friend's half dead? Yeah. I was sitting in the fucking hospital, and I told the doctor, like, okay, because it stopped snowing eventually. I told the doctor, like, it stopped snowing, so we're just gonna head back. And the doctor was like, yeah, if you try to get home right now, if you try to drive all the way back to Los Angeles, your friend's gonna fucking die. So, and I literally had no response. Like, how do you respond to that?
Yeah.
So that's what I do now is I pick a scenario in my life, and then I just get very specific. I'm like, I'm just gonna be very specific.
Yeah. And
it seems to be working for me.
It's funny because when I know the story. You told me what happened and with the song, and I was listening to it, and man, like it started to get me all like, holy shit! Like, I couldn't even imagine being in that situation.
When I recorded it, when I finished recording, it was just a demo version, and I put it out. I sent it to my buddy, who it's kind of about him, really. Mm-hmm. I sent it to him, and I was like, hey, and I never showed it. For a long time I had it, and I never really had told him about it or showed it to him. Like, I showed very few people, and I sent it to him, and I started to think about his situation because he had contracted a kidney disease that he had a kidney failure. And he had to be on dialysis. Mm-hmm. And what happened was we got stuck in Reno and I mean in Tahoe, and he had to get home to do his dialysis, And so when I started thinking about from his perspective that, this whole concept of, we're in this place and all we really want is to go home. Mm-hmm. We're stuck in this place that we've never been in. We don't know anybody here. We've never been here before. This and that. All our families and girlfriends and wives are calling, like, what's going on, this and that, and everything just sort of went not according to plan because we kind of had a plan. And we were stuck, and it's like it was out of our hands at that point. Mm-hmm. So... And I started to, when I sent it over to him, I started to think about what it was like for him to be a young guy in his 20s and to contract this disease that was really hereditary. He wasn't an alcoholic. He wasn't someone who abused
Drugs,
anything too heavy. I mean, when you're in a band, you party, but he wasn't an abuser to where he should have, or to where he was gonna get kidney failure at 25 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's something that happened to him that was out of his control.
Yeah.
And since this is already a long time ago, this is like 4 or 5 years ago.
He essentially was just dealt a bad hand, right?
Dealt a bad hand beyond his control, and he has since had a kidney transplant, and he doesn't have to, he got better. He made it out, and that's good for him. But I started to think, like, from Drew's perspective, this could take on a meaning of Reno is really a metaphor for being sick and being stuck in this place, and sort of just having to leave it in the doctor's hands. We were in Reno, and we had to just do what the doctor told us. We had you know what I'm saying? The doctor he had his say and everything. The song started to sort of take on new meaning, and I was like, it's
which is why it's so relatable, because for a lot of people right now,
you feel stuck.
That is what they have to do, is just leave it in the healthcare workers and the doctors and the nurses, and just leave it in their hands and pray for the best. Great song.
For sure.
Damn.
Should we do another one?
Yeah, let's do another one.
Okay. All right.
But this one goes to 11.
This is called Drug Dealers.
Ooh, love this.
It's about drugs. This is another one I put out on my SoundCloud. Working on other stuff, but not ready yet.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, bro. Drug dealers are friendly. They're not your friend. Drug dealers are friendly. They're not your friend. They'll take your money and they'll take your soul. Make you forget just how to get back home. Who you become, well, you just don't know. 626-831-905. It's 4 a.m. and we're looking for one more line, because this can't stop. We can run, but we can't hide. I don't wanna die. Drug dealers are friendly. They're not your friends. Drug dealers are friendly. They're not your friends. They'll take your money and they'll take your soul. Make you forget just how to get back home. Who you become, well, you just don't know. You just don't know. No.
Man, love that one.
Yes. People seem to like that one.
That one's it's very catchy.
It's funny you say that, because that song has what you would call an unorthodox song structure.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much it's like like a normal structure would be like intro, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, right? That's a pretty standard,
Right.
pop structure. And I used to listen to a lot of Led Zeppelin growing up, and there's a lot of Led Zeppelin music that is a little bit more like very kind of almost linear, where like, or just not your typical song structure. Your 2-3 minute structure. Their songs would be like 5, 6, 7 minutes. Like so, and when I write, I don't want everything to be so predictable. So that song is technically chorus, bridge, chorus. There is no verse. So that was sort of like, I wanted to do something that was short and not your typical structure. And then lyrically, that song is about drugs and dealing, obviously, struggling with drug addiction and drug dependency, which is something that I've struggled with, but also a lot of people struggle with. And my idea was, the first part is almost, I wanted it to be almost like a mantra, to where anyone can sort of relate to it.
Right.
And so I wanted it to be like almost cliche, like a chant or a mantra, but then I wanted the middle part to get very serious and, again, very specific to my own situation. And then again to come into the mantra and almost like a sing along, what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, it definitely has that, where you can, like, even sometimes, like, since you put it out on SoundCloud, sometimes I'll kind of like hum it to myself. You know what? I'm gonna put that shit on right now.
And the funny thing is, again, the middle part, which was supposed to be very specific, became the most relatable part. It seems to some people, where it's, like the 626-831-905, right? That's a phone number, right? I used to have a number. I've had many numbers of drug dealers, but I had one specific number that I always use. And I started to look at these sequence of numbers as like I just used to think to myself, this is a destructive phone number. This is a very, this is a dangerous number, and it's just numbers. You know what I'm saying? And
it's almost like the self-destruct code.
Yeah, it is. And I just said, you know what? So really is that whole middle part is my my thought process of 62 dialing the number, already being high but needing more. And then the last lyric is this can't stop. I went back when I wrote that. I went back and forth between this won't stop or this can't stop. In other words, this won't stop. It's beyond my control. It won't stop. I can't control it anymore. Or this can't stop. In other words, I'm allowing this to go on. Am I in control or am I not?
Yeah.
And I decided that I am in control and I'm allowing it to happen, because I know deep down I have the ability to get a hold of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like your own rehab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go with this can't stop, because ultimately I'm the one putting the drugs in my body, and I'm the, I could blame it on the phone number, I could blame it on the deal, but ultimately it's my fault. And then the last part, I don't want to die, is why am I doing this to myself? Do I want to die?
Yeah,
I
honestly,
don't want to die.
For me, that is the strongest part of the song.
Yeah, and
because it feels like it's all like it's a good. It's almost like a sad but good feeling song, because you're understanding why.
It's a cry for help. It's me telling myself, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
So why am I doing this? You know. So, and again, these very specific lyrics that I thought were very specific to my own thought process and my own experience. When I put it out, that became the most relatable part that most people told me. And I showed it to my. I actually had. This one I wrote relatively recently, but I was on the fence for a while, about putting it out because it was very personal, and not everyone knows about this part of my life, of my own, quote unquote struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, this song, I know it's a good song. I'm really proud of it, but it's also exposing myself in a way.
Yeah, it's putting a spotlight on your issues.
But I decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna put it out, and I got a lot of positive feedback. But the funny thing is, I put it out, and I got a phone call the next day from someone. I won't say who it is, but I got a phone call from them, someone who I'm very close with, who
Right.
and they called me kind of randomly, and I remember I was sleeping, and they called me in the morning. So I'm like, this is my phone goes out. I pick up the phone, and I was like, hello, and they're like, hey, what's up? And hello, hey, what's up? What's going on? Hey, what are you doing? This thing, they were kind of like small talking. I started getting kind of annoyed. I was like, what the fuck? Like, man, I'm fucking sleeping. What the fuck do you want? And then they started crying, and they said, I'm not doing well right now, and I need help, and I heard your song, and it really got to me, and I want to change, and I want to do something because I'm afraid,
Mm-hmm.
And they are now in the process of getting help with their dependency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of cliche to think, I want my music to affect people. I want it to touch people's lives, but and in this specific case, it did, I guess, and it's weird because I almost didn't put it out because I was afraid of making myself vulnerable to public. But I did it anyways, and I could potentially have saved somebody's life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not just, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or
No.
anything, but I thought to myself, by allowing myself to be vulnerable and put myself out there,
mm-hmm.
I was able to help somebody else out. And that's, if I never make a cent off this song, it's not worth something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's worth more than $1.
Yeah.
You can make money, and there's a million ways to make money. It's but it's very hard to get through to people because humans are inherently hard-headed. And I include myself in that. I'm one of the worst ones,
Yeah. It's like they say, a life is more valuable than anything.
So, I know some, it's, I don't know. It's weird. And I'm glad. But again, I'm starting to realize when it comes to lyrics, especially, because it's, I don't want to say it's easy, but like music is sort of easy to create. When I say music, I mean like melody and chords, especially if you understand music and you study music and you know chords, or even if you just have an ear and you can. It's easy because you could sit at a piano and you could sort of, mess around with notes and just sort of do random things until you find something that sounds good, and then start polishing it up and honing it in and or you can kind of hum something, or on the guitar or whatever. And it's easy because you can get assistance from instruments and this and that. But to come up with lyrics, you kind of have to conjure it from nothing. You know what I'm saying? You have to conjure it from your mind. So it's a lot harder. So I'm realizing that the more specific I get about myself, I think the more relatable my lyrics become. And I think that applies to anybody. If you're having a hard time coming up with lyrics that you want to be relatable or universal, just start writing about yourself, or the people around you. You know what I'm saying? And even if that is a girl you like or whatever, or your wife or your husband or whatever, like I said, I'm not against love songs. It's just not something that I'm particularly good at. I'm better at writing about either myself or my family or my friends, because I don't know. I guess to me, friendship is more important than romantic.
Right.
Because I mean, even when you talk about being romantic with someone, ultimately the people that stay together forever, people that that have successful relationships, successful marriages, they say, "Wow, what makes yours relationship so successful?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the sex, or is it this, or is it that?" Like, well, ultimately, so and so is my best friend. They're my friend first, and I can have that friendship because that's ultimately what's is gonna mean something,
Exactly.
My last girlfriend, who I met her, and like the day I met her, I asked her out. We started going out, and then we just started to have a relationship, and it escalated pretty quickly. And there was I had a lot of doubt because I was like, okay, I'm with this person. We've been intimate, and we've had all these intimate moments, but I don't even know this person, and she doesn't even really know me. Because I mean, yeah, we're doing all these things, but there's people I've known since I'm 14, 15 years old, that this and that. And ultimately we didn't stay together, but we remained friends. And that wasn't really something I was used to doing, but we remained friends. She kind of pushed it, and I kind of went along with it. And now we're still friends, and we still text and we still talk. I was talking to her on the phone the other day, and we subtracted we subtracted the romantic, and it's kind of we've been working on the friendship part, I guess. Not that it's like intentional. It's just kind of how it's going, and I feel closer to her now. I feel more love for her now than I did when we were together and like doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's something I've learned. About going forward is if you want to be with someone and have a relationship with someone, there has to be a friendship there.
It's funny you say that, because before we started the podcast, you saw how Ash was kind of like overreacting for stuff.
Well, you always,
but you asked me, like, I don't, or not, you didn't ask me, but you.
I always say, I don't know how the fuck you do it, because I would have jumped out a window already.
Well, you kind of answered your question, because Ash and I, before we got together, we never thought about being together. We never thought about
you were friends or something, right?
Yeah, we were friends, and we never wanted, like, we would go out, people would always, like, people always saying, especially at the MC, like, oh my god, so and so is going out, they're probably fucking, and they're probably this and that. Nobody knew what was really going on with us, but between Ash and I, we were just hanging out, talking. None of it was really romantic. A lot of it was just us hanging out and talking to each other. And then after a year and a half, 2 years is when we really kind of got together, and I guess we just felt like, hey, you know what, let's take it to that next level. But when she does act like that, when you say, like, how do you deal with that? For me, I guess in a sense, I remember that we were friends, and we're still friends, and we still are, and like I told you, that's why we fuck around, or that's why I fuck, or I make fun of her, or do that to kind of like ease the tension. But really, it just stems back from when we were friends, and when we would overreact, we would just fuck with each other, make fun of each other, and that it just goes back to our roots.
Yeah, and I've asked you before, because you guys have a kid together, and I mean, she got pregnant relatively early on in your guys' relationship. When you took it to that level, and I've asked you before. I said, do you think you and Ash would still be together if you didn't have a kid? And you say, yeah. I go, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, nah. I'm like, there's no fucking way. I'm like, there's no way, dude. There's no way. Like, yeah. And I go, why? I go, well, because me and Ash are friends. He's my best friend. What can I say? Like, it's not about the kid, like it is, but it isn't.
Well, it is now, but
it is now, but and that's there's your relationships as parents and your relationship romantically is separate. That's something I learned about my own parents, is that whatever goes on between them and their relationship as husband and wife has nothing to do with me. That's why, like, when people get divorced. They try to let their kids know this isn't because of you. You know,
Yeah.
this isn't has it really. Not only is it not because of you, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You know, this is our feelings about each other. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Blah 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 blah. Anyways.
All right.
So anyway, you know.
Thank you for playing those songs, man. That was great.
For sure.
I loved
Yeah,
it.
man, it was fun.
Hopefully you guys liked it in the podcast. We're trying to do something.
I thought I could have done better. But
Nah, it was good. It was
yeah?
good.
Okay, for sure.
This you have one more song?
I always you know, I always hear the notes I'm not playing.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, because I'm not a musician, so I can't hear those notes.
True. That that's another thing you know. You have to realize that music is like everybody listens to music, and like 98% of people who listen to music aren't musicians, and they don't care what you're doing. They don't care what you're saying. They don't care about your song structure ideas. They don't care about what scale you're using or how fast you're playing. All they care about is whether it sounds good or not. Do they enjoy listening to it, or do they not enjoy listening to it? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, but when you're a musician and you're not just a musician, but you know, when you're a writer or a creator, you overanalyze, you know, and you have to sort of check yourself, you know, and realize that the thoughts you're having, 98% of the people are not going to have their thoughts. Their only thought is going to be, do I like it or do I not like it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, ignorance is bliss.
Isn't
and
it?
I'm ignorant to the music.
All right. I want to do one more song. And I'll tell you a funny thing is that all three of these songs, this is a David, I didn't write this song. I'm sure people will get it. All three of these songs use the same chords.
Oh, nice.
Exact same chords.
See, I never would have known that.
Well, it's just all about creativity. This song is going to blow my songs out of the water, but it's all good. Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Commencing. Shit.
Start
Ground
over.
control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Yo, put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom. Commencing countdown, engines on. Step down, that's all, and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. Really made the grade, and the papers want to know it. Oh shit! This is ground control to Major Tom. Really made the grade, and the papers want to know which shirt you wear. Now it's time to leave your capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom, ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in the most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today. So here Though I'm past 100,000 miles, I'm feeling very still. And I think my spaceship knows which way to go. Tell my wife I love her very much. She knows. Ground control to Major Tom, your circuit's dead. There's something wrong. Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear? I am floating in a tin can, high above the moon. Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do.
Nah.
David Bowie, ladies and gentlemen.
David
R.I.P.
Bowie. That was Rev.
Thank
on
you.
The guitar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Rev, for that.
Well, thanks, Philippe's, for always supporting me. You know, can be a bit nervous at times.
Yeah, man, you shouldn't be. You're great. Honestly, the way you perform, I was thinking like, especially like performing new songs. I was just thinking like, how hard that, at least from my perspective, like how hard that is to like really remember and like do all that. And then on top of that,
I told you before we started. I said I'm gonna play these 3 songs only because they're the only songs I've committed to memory.
Yeah. But man, that's really good. I appreciate you playing that on the podcast.
For sure, dude. I mean, where else would I do it? You know, this is our baby. So I mean, what you know? There's I remember you know, I listened to the Stern Show a lot, and a couple years back, one of his staff members, he got engaged. And he was someone who'd been on the show for a long time since he was young, and he got engaged. And like, because he got on the show when he was so young, he was like 23. You know, he was a kid, and he had been on the show, and now he's almost hitting his 40s, and you sort of, in a way, if you listen to the show the way I do, you kind of saw this guy grow up. You know, you saw him start as this kid and you know, date women and this and that, and you know, there's like almost like a narrative to this, you know. Yeah. And he gets engaged, and he announced it on Twitter. She said yes, you know. Yeah. So he goes to work the next day, and Stern fucking ripped him apart, dude. He goes, why? And he says that. He goes, you know, you've worked here since you were this, saying, you know, the audience has seen you grow up. Why would you announce it? Why wouldn't you come here and announce it? This is your play. He goes, I know this is the Howard Stern show. I go, but this is your show too. This is all of, we're a team, you know, this and that. Oh man, it was some of the best radio I ever heard. He fucking ripped him a new one. He goes, I fucking pay you, and you give it to Twitter? How many checks has Twitter cut you? Tell me that. You gave it to Twitter for free. People pay to listen to us, and you gave it to Twitter? Oh, it was the best. But so yeah, you know, hey, you know, I mean, even though I put these songs out on SoundCloud, so I mean, you know, you could say the same thing to me, but
well, I don't cut any checks yet. So.
For sure, I am, and you know, the quarantine. You know, I have been resting on my laurels for a long time, and I've been wanting to be a solo act for a while, and I've been trying to. I've been going about it different ways. None of them have been very successful for me. You know, like I wanted to get out and perform because like I started gigging when I was like, I started gigging in high school when I was with the fucking marching band and this and that. You know, and I had high school bands and we were playing like backyard shows, and I would, you know, so I've been performing for a long time. Yeah. But and then like, you know, I'm 18. I start Sons of Jimmy and we start playing gigs, and our whole life was playing gigs. You know, and like writing. We would write too and this and that. But and so, you know, when that was over and I was, you know, sort of mourning that, and then I kind of started to think, well, I want to get back in the game, and I was thinking of how to go about it. Do I start a new band and this and that, or do I be a solo act? And I started to think like, oh, I'm going to start learning a bunch of covers so that I could get back out and perform again. But it it just never felt right, and it's a lot of work. You know, you got to memorize a bunch of lyrics and this and that. And I remember I was even toying with the idea of going on cruise ships and this and that, just to get back to performing. And then, you know, kind of good thing I didn't, because, you know, COVID-19 hit, and then fucking a bunch of people were on ships and they were stuck, you know, and that's where I could have potentially been, you know. Yeah. So, you know, this quarantine has sort of put me in a place where I'm like, I have really no choice but to work on my music. And the more I write, I'm realizing like writing and then going out and performing that's how I need to do it. And I always underestimated myself as a writer, but you know, now that I'm putting myself out there, I'm getting more confident, you know, and I'm realizing how I should go about it now, you know. And it's like you said earlier, you know, it's almost like sales, where I wanted to go out and sell. Performing is like selling. Yeah. I wanted to go out and sell, but I had nothing to sell. My music being my product. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a product. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I don't know. So I've had a lot of time to really reanalyze like how I want to go about it, and also too, being 30, 31 now, I've lived enough time to where I feel I have a lot more to write about.
Well, I'm also glad you're in this position, because I remember when we first started, you were super sad boy. Like, you were like, I can't do this. I was like, dude, your fucking songs are good. You fucking play great guitar. What are you doing?
I just felt I was just afraid, dude. Yeah. I was afraid. I was nervous, and I being a soul, you know, being someone who played in bands my whole life. I mean, shit, I grew up in the marching band, for God's sake, 40 people in a marching band. Being a solo act, I found was very lonely, and I didn't like it. I didn't like being alone. I like working with people. That's why I like doing the podcast. I like working with you. I like being able to bounce ideas off people and work off people. And writing on my own, it just felt hard. It just was too hard. It felt very hard and very lonely. And I had no one to really filter my ideas through. So like every idea felt dumb. Yeah. And, you know, I would get discouraged, and I had no one to say, hey, you know, don't be discouraged. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And but now, you know, I kicked myself in the head enough and I'm starting to make some headway now and get more confident in my writing. So I don't know. I guess, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're all gonna be in a better place. I'm glad you're there, man.
For sure.
And let's hear those songs. I want to hear.
Well, I'm working. I'm trying to make writing like a daily thing. Like even, you know, and I got some more stuff. And I'm still working it out. You know, I showed you some stuff earlier, and I was saying how like the idea is there, but I don't. The idea is there, but the arrangement is off, because I was trying to do piano. I'm not really a piano player, and I was like, I like it, but the piano, it just sounds like a fucking toy box. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't get the emotion that so I'm realizing now that like everything I write and everything I put down, I'm gonna have to start with the guitar, because the guitar is what I know how to do, and I'm able to express myself properly through.
Yeah, I mean, it's your bread and butter, baby.
In a sense, yeah.
Because like I didn't quite understand when you said that, when you first showed me that one you're working on, that everyone will soon get to hear. Yeah. Until you played me the original one you wrote, and then you played the guitar along.
I said, look, I said, hear the piano? Like, you're like, it sounds good to me. I go, okay, look, I'm going to take the piano out, and I'm going to do it on guitar now.
Yeah, then after he said, my reaction was like, man, that guitar sounded fucking dope.
Because I can play the guitar. I can't play the piano. You know, I know how the piano works. Yeah. I know the layout. Yeah. And I could get what I want out of it, but I can't. There's feeling behind your
it's almost
melody.
Like an emotional disconnect.
Yeah, there's exactly. Yeah. I can play the melody, but I can't get the emotion out, you know, because I just don't have the ability, really. You know, it comes down to ability and technique and just, you know, guitar, it's so fluid for me at this point, you know, so Stuff like that.
Well,
should I do one more?
Yeah, if you're down. Shit, I'm down to hear another one.
Well, now I'm all confident.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, I've done this a bunch of times, but I'll do it again. Because it's, again, one of the only songs I've committed to memory.
All right.
And I think you'll know what it is. Let's see here.
Well, do you want to send everybody off on this song?
Oh, yeah, why not?
All right. Well, guys, thank you for watching. We would like for you to comment, like, subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys for watching. This is Rev on the guitar. He's going to play us a song.
Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that one. I know what I'm going to do.
Okay. He's going to do another one. All right, guys. See you next time.
Lord, I was born a rambling man, trying to make a living, yeah, doing the best I can. And when it's time, yeah, for leaving, I hope you'll understand that I was born a rambling man. My daddy was a gambler down in Georgia who ended up on the wrong side of a gun. And I was born on the back of a Greyhound bus, riding down Highway 41. 'Cause Lord, I was born a rambling man, and trying to make a living, yeah, doing the best I can. And when it's time, yeah, for leaving, I hope you'll understand that I was born a rambling man. I'm headed out from New Orleans this morning. I'm headed straight out for Nashville, Tennessee, and sent down to on the bayou. No. Those Delta women are good to me. Lord, I was born a rambling man, trying to make a living, yeah, doing the best I can. And when it's time, yeah, for leaving, I hope you'll understand that I was born a rambling man. And when it's time, yeah, for leaving, I hope you'll understand that I was born a rambling man.